Alright, welcome back. And this is going to be another lore reading, just to catch up on our codex entries. Creatures, what do we got? Genlock. We already did this. Okay. Did this. There was no word for heaven or for earth, for sea or sky. All that existed was silence. Then the voice of the Maker rang out his first word, and his word became all that might be: dream and idea, hope and fear, endless possibilities. And from it he made his firstborn. And he said to them, in my image I forged you to make. To you I give dominion over all that exists. By your will may all things be done. Then in the center of heaven he called forth a city with towers of gold, streets with music for cobblestones, and banners which flew without wind. There he dwelled, waiting to see his wonders his children would create. The children of the Maker gathered before his golden throne and sang hymns of praise unending, but their songs were the songs of the cobblestones. They shone with the golden light reflected from the Maker's throne. They held forth the banners that flew on their own. And the voice of the Maker shook the fade, saying, in my image I have wrought my firstborn. You have been given dominion over all that exists. By your will all things are done, yet you do nothing. The realm I have given you is formless, ever-changing. And he knew he had wrought amiss, so the Maker turned from his firstborn and took from the fade a measure of its living flesh and placed it apart from the spirits and spoke to it, saying, here I decree opposition in all things, for earth sky, for winter summer, for darkness light. By my will alone is balance sundered, and the world given new life. Now I'm kind of wondering here, like, winter and summer, yeah, they seem pretty universal, but I also remember there being different, possibly different seasons in other latitudes, like ones where things don't so much get, have more or less constant sun. Like the amount of sun doesn't change that much, so it might not be so much a season of cold, a season of heat, or rainy season, dry season, that sort of thing. I was wondering to what extent this dichotomy is a product of where you live and where your culture inserted. Anyway, and no longer was it formless, ever-changing, but held fast, immutable, with words for heaven and for earth, sea and sky. At last did the Maker from the living world make men, immutable as the substance of the earth, with souls made of dream and idea, hope and fear, endless possibilities. Then the Maker said, to you, my second-born, I grant this gift. In your heart shall burn an unquenchable flame, all-consuming and never satisfied. From the fade I crafted you, and to the fade you shall return each night in dreams, that you may always remember me. And then the Maker sealed the gates of the golden city, and there he dwelled, waiting to see the wonders his children would create. Okay, so it's kind of an interesting thing. As I've mentioned before, the dwarves don't enter the Fade in their dreams, so they don't fit into this. It might be interesting to know how exactly the Andrastian chantry squares the dwarves with the Maker, like where exactly they are said to come from. There are those who would tell you that the chantry is the same everywhere as it is here, that the divine in Valrayo reigns supreme in the eyes of the Maker, and that this fact is unquestioned throughout Thedas. Yeah, if you look at lore, there are differences in how the Andrastian church is, like in a number of different places. Do not believe it. Maker's second command magic must serve man and not rule over him, never held the same meaning within the ancient Tevinter Imperium as it did elsewhere. The Chantry there interpreted the rule as meaning that mages should never control the minds of other men, and that otherwise their magic should benefit the rulers of men as much as possible. When the clerics of Tevinter altered the Chant of Light to reflect this interpretation of the commandment, the divine in Valrayo ordered the clerics to revert to the original chant. They refused, claiming corruption within Valrayo, an argument that grew until, in 487 Towers, the Chantry in Tevinter elected its own legitimate and uncorrupted divine Valhael, who was not only male, but also happened to be one of the most prominent members of the Tevinter Circle of Magi. This black divine was reviled outside Tevinter, his existence an offense to the Chantry in Valrayo. After 4 exalted marches to dislodge these rebels, all that the Chantry in Valrayo accomplished was to cement the separation. While most aspects of the Imperial Chantry's teachings are the same, prohibitions against magic have been weakened and male priests have become more prevalent. The Circle of Magi today rules Tevinter directly ever since the Archon Nomoran was elected in 734 Storm directly from the ranks of the enchanters, to great applause from the public. Kind of doubt that. Actually, a lot of people probably didn't actually know that happened, but anyway. Just more talking about suspect that the election, the only people who actually elected the person were high-ranking people, and probably the general peasantry might not have known or cared. But he dispensed with the old rules forbidding mages from taking part in politics, and within a century, the true rulers within the various imperial houses, the mages, took their places openly within the government. The imperial divine is now always drawn from the ranks of the first enchanters and operates as divine and grand enchanter both. This is utter heresy to any member of the Chantry outside of Tevinter, a return to the days of the magisters which brought the blights down upon us. But it exists, and even though we have left the Tevinter Imperium to the mercies of dread Kunari, they still have endured. Further confrontation between the Black Divine and our so-called White Divine is inevitable. From the Edicts of the Black Divine, by Father David of Corneris, 811 Blessed. Only one person witnessed Malfroth's betrayal, Havard the Aegis. A friend of Malfroth, he accompanied his chief to the meeting with the Tevinters, not realizing what was planned. When he understood Malfroth was giving Andraste over to be executed, Havard, unwilling to draw swords against his friend and liege, placed himself between. Okay. Sorry, I thought this was already. Okay, I think. I think we read this one already. Jason and Wilders have lived in the Kokari Wilds since the first wars, with the Aldmari drove them southward a millennium ago. According to their own lore, they had always been forest-dwelling people that adapted quickly to the new home. Game and fish are plentiful in the wetlands, and the chase and thrived. For a time, they and the high-dwelling Avars were true threats to the north and lowlands. The Tevinter Imperium had arrived and was hard-pressed to keep back the waves of invasions from the south and the west. The fortress of Ostagar was built specifically to watch for chastened hordes venturing north of the tree line. It was not until the legendary warrior Hafters he defeated the chastened in the first half of the Divine Age that the question of their ability to contest the lowlands was settled permanently. Today, the chastened are considered largely peaceful, though their ways are still primitive compared to our own. In the Kokari wilds, they live in strange-looking huts built on stilts, or even built into the giant treetops. They paint their faces and are split into small tribes ruled by shamans, like amongst the Avars. There are many tales of these shamans having learned their magic from the witches of the wilds, witches that inspire as much terror as they do awe and gratitude, even if there is no definitive proof they exist. In particular, the tale of Flemeth, the greatest witch of the wilds, is celebrated amongst all the tribes. While there's no way to know how many there are in the wild today, few travelers that pass through the forest tell of chastened eking out an existence. Even in the frozen wastelands far south, one can assume that should the chastened ever organize themselves once more, we might have reason to fear them here in Ferelden. We ignore them at our peril. I think we read this one already. Okay, who's this? I don't know, I believe we read this one already. We read this one already. Jory, you read this one already. Duncan. I think we read this one already. This one already. Flemeth. Morgan's mother says the last death. Just who or what mystery. Liliana. In the cloister, away from the fuss and the flurry of the cities, I found peace, and in that stillness I could hear the Maker. A lay sister of the Chantry who can and beat the stuffing out of trained mercenaries would be notable enough, but one who also claims to have been sent to fight the Darkspawn by the Maker himself is unusual to say the least. She joined Alistair and Duran in Lothering, insisting that she would prove useful. I vaguely wonder what that would say if you had refused her joining. We read this one already. We read this one already. Either you have an enviable memory or a pitiable life, to know nothing of regret. The northern islands are remote, lush jungles that harbor cities. Is rumored to be the most extraordinary ever built. These are the lands of the Kunari, lands that no foreign eyes ever see. Only the stories of the 3 exalted marches waged against the giants have reached the south, until the arrival of Sten. The stoic giant in the cage was surely the strangest thing the people of Lothering had ever seen until the blight struck. I've read this one already. Notes, I'm not going to bother with the notes. Controls, I am not going to read through the controls, just quest room. Friend, you ever see this letter? Someone else placed your name on a prescription by pledging your life to Blackstone regulars. With war looming on all fronts, the regulars must build their numbers. We are forced to call upon those who have sworn their assistance to make good on those oaths. Say farewell to your friends and family. Well, you may return to them. You must prepare them for the possibility that this will be your last day together. Your sacrifice is appreciated. Your sacrifice is appreciated. That is particularly amusing, given as said, you received this letter because you or someone else placed your name on an article of conscription. Someone else could place your name on the article of conscription. That... So you could end up being conscripted because someone decided to rank you or wanted to get rid of you or something. That sounds great. Alright, Blackstone regulars. Conscription to these people, their action of duty, find deserters, as you see fit. Lothering, Kunai prisoner. Light. Broken circle, Lothering in the highway. Wilds. Alright. So, that'll do it for this codex reading. Thanks for watching, and I should be back in a week. Maybe next time I'll actually release this immediately after the episode. But anyway, yeah. Have a good day.